Hey team, it's time for an Early Career Designer's Portfolio Review. I'm Megan Thomas, and I'm a senior UX designer with almost 10 years of experience in enterprise software design. I've taught and mentored over 300 early career designers through UC Berkeley's UX UI Design Bootcamp. In this video, I'm going to review an early career designer's portfolio and share my thoughts as a senior designer. My goal is to provide actionable feedback to help them succeed as they look for a job in the UX industry. Join me for a stream of consciousness walkthrough as I assess one of their case studies. Remember, mine is just one opinion. Make sure to get multiple perspectives before making any changes. All right, let's dive into the review and learn together. Hey friends, I hope I'm doing this correctly. I'm gonna have to stitch these together. I am doing my first portfolio review for an early career designer after taking a couple weeks off, a few weeks for the holidays. I know I had anticipated putting together a portfolio review every day of December, but we all know best laid plans. Things went slightly awry. I will not say that they went wrong. They just went differently than I expected, and that's totally normal, right? We are all used to that. So I want to say thank you so much for giving me grace and coming back to visit me after my break. And I'm really excited for this year. I don't know for a fact. I just know it's true. I did steal that line from Bill Maher. I don't know for a fact. I just know it's true. 2024 is going to be an amazing year. We are going to work together to make sure that you are completely set up to enter the job market as the most amazing designer that you could possibly ever be. Here's the thing: there are no ranking systems. No one's going to be like, I am the best. Okay, I take that back. Someone's going to say, I am the best designer that ever was, and that's fine. They might in fact be, but we all have the ability to be the best designer that we can be and to bring our best selves to the jobs that we're doing. So I'm super excited that you're joining me for this year. This would be the first kickoff of the portfolio reviews. I also would like to introduce an idea for another video series. It's not really a series. It's not like I have seasons or anything. But I'd really like to start, since people have enjoyed and appreciated the insights that they're gathering from these videos. I'm wondering, please leave a comment below if you think this is crazy, or if you think this is genius, or if you think it is somewhere in between those two extremes. Let me know. I'd really like to know if you would be interested in seeing recorded interviews. I think it would be incredibly valuable to interview an early career designer with the job description in mind that they have applied for, as if they are in fact interviewing for that job, and get some practice answering some of the basic questions, get some practice answering some questions that are related to the job description. And then maybe we can break down the interview and some feedback on the questions afterward. If you think that would be valuable, please let me know below. I would genuinely appreciate it, because obviously nobody wants to do work that nobody enjoys. Nobody wants to do something that makes no sense at all. So I've been thinking about it for a couple of months. I feel like it would be a really valuable experience. And I'm also looking for volunteers. If you're interested in being that early career designer and practicing your interview skills, and you're willing to put yourself on camera with me, I would love that. So let me know. And with that, once again, hello, welcome 2024. I'm going to get started with my first early career designer portfolio review. All right. And we're back. All right, I'm here with the first early career designer portfolio review of 2024, and I'm happy to introduce you to Spencer Goryl, who was one of my students in my third and final boot camp that I taught last year. And I'm super excited about this, not the least of which is the fact that I don't know what to call it, this background is more than delightful. It is, honestly, it's kind of addictive, because if you get caught up in it, you can kind of your job is to keep all the pieces from hitting the logo or something, and I could be here for hours. So Spencer, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that I can just stay here on your homepage, but I like it. I love that you incorporated something that's a little more codery, a little interesting, a little developer-y. And I think it might have to do with the fact that you had a really I'm not going to say like everybody finds it easy, because I don't want to make anyone else feel like, oh, I found it really hard and therefore I'm dumb. That's not the case. But Spencer had really a good time, I think, picking up these developer skills. And I think you've done a really good job demonstrating, at the very least, that you understand how to start using technology and incorporate some things that maybe other designers don't necessarily have. So this is super cool. And it really is a game that I really want to just like, if I can clear the whole thing away, maybe I win something. No, that's not the case. All right, so we've got your home page, and that does not actually go anywhere here. So let's check out the About. All right, designer specialized in UI and graphics. So we're looking for visual design stuff here. I'm going to say that it's actually interesting. Typically we would see like a name and like that's your who I'm about kind of phrase on here, but you didn't go with that. Oh God, I really do feel like I can win this game. All right, let's go back over to the About page before I get too distracted. So I love that you're doing this does feel like you've got some really good coding skills, because it looks like you're doing a cool layout. It's almost a user persona, right? You've got your design, movies, music, art. These are not clickable, but they are interactive when you roll over them. I love it. Also loving that you've got business administration, industrial technology, and as I stumble over my tongue, industrial technology and packaging. You have a lot of different skills that you bring from both technology and design, and I think that makes you an incredibly strong candidate in a lot of different ways. I feel like you should be going for more higher technical work when you're working, like not just like a fun app, but actual apps that do, or web applications that do really meaningful work. So I imagine that you would be really good at that. I don't necessarily know if you would enjoy that, but you should definitely look into it. Also loving this. I don't want to dive into how much I love these movies, because that's neither here nor there, but this is really cool. I love, Queen's Gambit. I loved that movie. You made, this must have been one of your projects. You make pottery. Spencer, this is so cool. It's showing, I don't know what the word is when you're more than a triple threat, when you have so many skills, but I'm loving this. This is really cool. All right, let's get to your portfolio. Looking really good. Again, with the distracting background, I might suggest taking the background off on these pages where you really want them to focus on the content of your portfolio. But again, it is super delightful. I'm having a good time with it. All right. So you have an original UX project here, a redesign project for Pet Network, and you have a redesign project for Tahoe Blue Surf. Based on primacy, the primacy bias that I have here, the reason that you put it first might be because you're the most proud of it. And since you are kind of a UI and graphic design person primarily, I know I'm going to see some UX stuff in here, but I'm probably going to be really excited about the visuals that I see in this portfolio case study. Okay. Tahoe Blue Surf website redesign. Given 3 weeks with a team of 5 designers, we evaluated and made improvements to the Tahoe Blue Surf website. This project required advanced understanding of the users and the business. Our problem: 85% of charter bookings for Tahoe Blue Surf are currently done over the phone or in person. That wastes the company's time and resources. You're absolutely right. The more one-to-one contact you have to have with an employee, the lower return on the investment for the business. So this is a real world problem. This is something that many companies, not just someone who's doing tours, but this is a primary issue for a ton of tech companies. We want to reduce the cost of the people hours, the people power it takes to deliver a service or a product. So this is a real world problem that I think is going to be really valuable for hiring managers to see. I love that you've got your role here is I'm mainly focused on the information architecture with the card sort and sitemap, as well as designing the low and high fidelity. Nice. That is important to call out what you did. And I tell people this all the time. So this is fantastic. All right. You even tied this in. I love that you've got like the little color dots and you're tying this in closer to the rest of your portfolio project. I might because it almost feels like an aside as opposed to a natural flow. I might shift, and this, again, you're the visual designer. I am very much not a visual designer, but my thought is that it might be easier to have a natural flow of the eyes if you were to move this stakeholder interview blue down here, maybe not directly in line with this content so that it doesn't feel like overview, our problem, my roles, blah, but it does flow into the our hypothesis statement. So if we can shift some of these bubbles around a little bit, that might make it a little more natural of a flow. And I know I've seen it before where some folks are like, well, I want to leverage the Z or F pattern reading style that people have. And there's a good example / a bad example that I've seen of it. This is not, I don't think that this is what you're trying to do, but it would be a little easier since we're going to flow here. We're probably going to see some comparison beside these, but this feels like it's a tough reach when naturally I would go here. So I would consider, if you can see where my mouse is waving, I would consider moving that over just a tiny bit, maybe off center between the left edge of the top chunk and then the centered title of the next bit. All right, our hypothesis. Now, okay, yep, we can leave it at our. I might even say the hypothesis. We don't want to imply too much of the other people's work, and hiring managers tend to, I've heard a few of them say that they get a little frustrated because they can't tell what work is yours and what work is the rest of the team. So yes, you've called it out as my roles, the things that I've done, but we can just kind of like pretend that they don't exist for a little bit. So we'll say the hypothesis. What's the hypothesis when we're talking about Tahoe Blue Surf? By updating the UX of the booking process and redesigning the information architecture of the website, users will have a better understanding of the charter process, leading to an increase in bookings. I would stretch out those margins just a tiny bit so you don't have a single word, a little orphan down there, but this is a really good hypothesis. And so what I'm expecting to see in this portfolio is that we're talking about the booking process. I want to hear way more detail about the information architecture since that's what you've said is the thing that you worked on the most. And then kind of want to get some validation. Is that actually users, do they have a better understanding of the charter process? Does that lead to an increase in bookings? And I would also I would also add probably a comma leading to an increase in bookings, comma, and a decrease in customer support hours, time, something like that, because that is a metric that you can actually review. That's a metric that you can reach out back to the people at Tahoe Blue Surf and ask them, hey, on average, how many hours were you spending before this design and how many hours were you spending afterward? And that's a real metric. That's an impact metric. That is actually one of the things that I'm working on at my company is reducing the time it takes for our customers to hire their new candidates. So a reduction in the time and the effort it takes for a company to do something is a huge savings of operational costs. All right, we've got the next section, which is the user research. To test the hypothesis statement, we conducted cognitive walkthroughs and user interviews. Ultimately, the one-page layout of the site made it hard for users to find valuable information, leading to frustration. Users enjoyed the aesthetic, claiming it made the site more trustworthy and professional. Good job calling out actual statements from users. Upon opening the site, users did not know what action to take first. Many did not even realize the site was scrollable. Woof, that's a miss. Users found the one-page format tedious and belaboring due to the amount of information needed to remember. Yeah, from top to bottom, I like to be able to control my own actions. And when I have no other options but to scroll up and down, it does feel like I don't get to be in control of what I do. So that can be very frustrating for users. Important information regarding the charters was difficult to find, resulting in an increase in time taken to book. Ooh, that right there is another metric I really hope you're able to talk to at the end of the case study. The increase in time taken to book. There is, if they've got Google Analytics on their website at all, you should be able to see when a user arrived and did they ultimately book and how long they spent on the site between arrival and actually clicking the book button. And of course, finalizing the booking, how long that takes. But this is a really good metric that you'd be able to look at and hopefully include in your case study. Heuristic evaluation. Okay, so you've got we analyzed the current website to find usability issues, but you talked up here about doing cognitive walkthroughs. So did you do the cognitive walkthrough, or does that include the heuristic evaluation? Maybe it doesn't, and that's totally fine. In which case I would say we also analyzed the current website to find specific usability issues, because a cognitive walkthrough is a type of website, a UI analysis. Okay, so below are 4 of the most impactful issues that we aim to solve with our redesign. Okay, so the first one is visual overload. The video auto-playing in the background, accessibility issue, along with constant animation effects, causes confusion for the user. These effects also make the website extremely slow and unresponsive. I would also say it makes for not just confusion for the user, it's an overwhelming user experience. It's a cognitive load that is totally unnecessary and doesn't actually add. Some people like the flashy, ooh, it makes my website look fancy, but really and truly it's an accessibility issue. And if people have accessibility issues, they don't buy your product. It's that easy. So I would also make this image a lot bigger. It's not that I can't read everything on it. It just feels like this is really large text, and it feels like if you've got it so far over here, you might want to scoosh it out a little bit more. Let me see more. This is also really, I can tell that we've got some web, is that 2.0, web 1.0? I don't know. This sideways text and the way that they scroll down between sections. Yeah, this is a vintage website. Maybe 2014. Fine. Content organization. On desktop, the primary navigation is practically hidden, being just that's the navigation, several dots on the right side of the screen. Users must hover over each dot to read what they are, forcing users to reread their options. Well, not only that, but once again, it is completely inaccessible. If someone is using a screen reader to try and navigate, we don't know, based on how this is coded, we don't know whether or not that screen reader can actually read those links, or if they're just too fancily hidden in some JavaScript, and now people cannot actually navigate the website at all, which can open them up to lawsuits. So that's a big deal. Help and documentation. Currently, crucial information users must know before booking is practically hidden. In this example, the frequently asked questions, again, you say in this example, make it a little bit bigger. I want to be able to read this. And if that means that there's more space in between these, that's totally fine. I might even suggest splitting these up, and instead of referring to just one of these, maybe 2 with some arrows pointing to specific areas that you're trying to point out with these usability issues. That might be helpful. And then make this bigger so we can read it. In this example, the FAQs have important information, but can only be found after scrolling through the entire site. Amazing. Consistency and standards. The booking form consists solely of text boxes. However, users expect to only type when completely necessary. In addition, the formatting of the contact information on mobile runs off the page and is unable to be read. That is a really good point. Somebody put this website together. Not awesome. Okay. Design process. To start our design process, we decided to do a card sort because of the lack of organization. Nice, on the current site. So you've gathered the necessary information and reorganized it into the categories below. If you did our information architecture with the card sort and sitemap, I want to know a little bit more about the card sort, how you put it together. So what you've put at the top of the page is kind of a promise to the hiring manager that you know how to do a certain method or use a certain tool. So if you're using a card sort, I want to know a little bit more information about how did you set it up? Was it moderated? Was it in person? Was it unmoderated and people did it at their own leisure? You sent out the links. What kind of people did you recruit to do the card sort? How did you manage the results of it? And how did you make the determinations that this was the right information architecture? So give me a few more details. And then creating a new sitemap. So you've based it off the card sort. That's fantastic. You've made it significantly more consistent with industry standards, and it will allow users to naturally understand the website upon arrival, we hope. and it will drastically improve the loading time and responsiveness of the site. So one thing I want to make sure that we understand, I think this navigation will allow users to naturally understand the website upon arrival. And then I would delete this entire section right here from the comma all the way through responsiveness of the site. We hope it will drastically improve the loading time, but the sitemap itself doesn't do that. The fact that you are removing things from one long scrolling page and putting them onto separate pages will in fact make the smaller pages load faster, but does it actually improve the entire loading time of the site? Do you have details to support that? And does it in fact relate to the responsiveness of the site? So it doesn't technically relate to the responsiveness of the website. So I would remove that statement, but this is a more logical flow, and it does, we hope, help users understand what to find on the website and where to find it. Wireframes. Below is the progression from low fidelity to high fidelity for the home page of the site. We aim to have a very clear content structure as well as to maintain the aesthetic of the old version. So this is interesting. These are wireframes. I would like to see a little bit more detail. I'd like to see a little bit, maybe just some subcontext here. Maybe we want to be able to click through these at a much higher resolution, a much bigger image. I'd like to look at this a little bit more deeply, a little bit more thoroughly. So maybe add some additional indications, some context, like we decided to do these things that we decided in the sitemap for the what to expect was particularly important. Why is that? Because that's what people need to know before they book something. So tell me more about why you made decisions to put things on the layout. Since you are already a graphic and visual and industrial and package designer, you already have the concepts of layout. You already instinctively apply the Gestalt laws. You are really good at this. Now explain to the hiring manager why you're good at this, why it's so meaningful. Because without context and the reasoning for why you've done something, this is just you telling us that, or showing us a couple of things and telling us, trust me. And in this job market, it's really difficult for hiring managers right now to know, well, who's worth taking, a trust me on right now. So make it easy for them to select you and know that you are the right person for this. Style guide. This is so cool. So below is the progression from low fidelity to high fidelity for the home page of the site. Homepage of the site. You've got some duplicated stuff here. Oh, very clear content structure as well as to maintain the aesthetic. So this is a complete duplication of the wireframes. So rewrite this and then tell me something about creating the style guide. So again, you're a visual designer. So tell me why the typography, why the button styles. Those look like kind of a little vintage, like a little throwback on the buttons, like they're supposed to go click and you just feel like, oh, I've really depressed that button. So tell me more about why you made some of these style choices, especially with like icons that have visible lines. We don't always see that. So give me just a couple of lines of context about why you're even sharing this style guide. Is it because you're really good at creating style guides, or that you understand how to structure the style for an entire brand? There is some very interesting information in there and you just haven't shared it. Okay, test the prototype. The fully clickable high fidelity prototype was built in Figma and prepared to be handed off to a developer. And then what? So the fully clickable high fidelity prototype, there's no period. And I would also like a little bit more context. I would also consider shifting that button over, go check it out, give someone a call to action. What do you want them to get from this? If they are going to spend an entire 60 seconds of their life clicking through to the prototype, maybe something like, hey, check out what it's like to click on that booking page, or click through to the prototype and check out the About Us page. I'm really proud of that. Something that makes it more interesting and compelling. Otherwise, it's just an easy to scroll past wall. So I would also move, like I said, move that button over to the left side. And again, make this just a little bit bigger. It's way more interesting than you're allowing yourself to take credit for. So give me better visuals. And outcomes. So Moving forward, conduct further usability testing, hand off to developer, evaluate KPIs to evaluate the usability. All right, you use the same word in the same sentence, so double check that. And if you're going to say conduct further usability testing, tell me why. What do you want to know? Who would you seek out in order to find out that this is usable and accessible for people who might be interested in booking Tahoe Blue Surf? Tell me if maybe you just want to make sure that the booking flow is really easy to process. Like, tell me a little bit of details. Hand off to developer. Yes, if you're actually going to hand that off to the developer. And then evaluate the KPIs. What KPIs? Which ones would you be interested in finding out about? And tell me a little bit more. That tells a hiring manager that you know that before you start designing, you understand that we're trying to hit some sort of metrics. We are trying to get some sort of result as a return on the investment of creating a new design. So tell me a little bit more about that. And this is beautiful. I am super excited. So I want to actually go look at like Tahoe Blue Surf. And I wonder, I really hope that they have used your redesign. Ooh, might be in the middle of the redesign. Okay, cool. I love this. Spencer, I'm really excited about this. I think you've done a really good job setting up your portfolio, and I love the story that you've told. I think I recall this was one of your suggestions because you met them or you worked with them before, or maybe you've been on a tour with them. Tell me a little bit more detail, a little bit more storytelling about why you even chose that project, why it seemed so interesting to you. And I think it's a great one. I'm really excited to see your career take off. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to review your portfolio. For everyone else who's watching, thank you so much for watching. And please leave a comment and let me know what you learned from this, what you took away from this, and what you'd like me to lean into and do some more reviews of. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you with the next one.